Out of all 5 mains, which one would you say is the worst? It's usually a pretty hard question considering the fact that all the mains are very good at what they do and regarded as the best tunes in the game. But recently I've noticed that the mains have been severely power crept, mainly Pebble and the topic of today's video, Vee. Pebble being power crept by tunes like Louie is a topic for another time, but Vee has too many flaws for a main, so let's go over the basics. If you're unfamiliar, Vee is a main character, meaning she has 16 stars spread across 5 different stats, and she has 2 abilities, a passive and an active. Her stats are quite simple and define her playstyle perfectly. A 5-star extraction and 4-star skill check makes her with no doubt the fastest extractor in the game. She severely lacks in speed, however, only having 2-star movement, which is one of her biggest weaknesses. Now, a tune being slow is not a direct distinction of how good they are. Some slow tunes make up for their poor mobility with active abilities and their stealth and stamina stats being higher. This makes an obvious problem. A tune without any of these things and slow movement will make them vulnerable, and Vee struggles here immensely. Her active ability scans all the twists on the floor, which does help her navigate safely, but that is the extent of her capabilities. By far her biggest hindrance is her 2-star stealth. Bad movement and bad stealth is the worst combination of things. You're slow and you're going to be targeted by everything first, seeing as almost all other viable tunes have higher stealth. Now, on the other end of the stick, low stealth can be balanced out by good movement. This is shown to us by tunes like Brightney and Louie, who despite their poor stealth are still able to thrive in survivability due to good mobility. Now, why am I talking about this? Isn't this video supposed to be about extractors? Why does movement matter? Well, you would be right, but movement is super important for extractors too. Vee, despite her outstanding extraction stats, has the worst stat combination in the game, low stealth and low movement, making her completely helpless against almost any twisteds. Now, this can be solved with a distractor, but it's still safe to say that a tune that will always get in the way when someone is distracting can be a hindrance, especially if they lack the mobility to escape such situations. Now, up until this update, the debate for Vee being viable in coordinated runs was very rough. Her main competitors and extractors being Shelly and Glisten. Shelly is considered better for extracting, usually due to her high mobility and active ability, as well as her 3-star stealth, making it so she's not directly in the way to distractors. But she synergizes well with higher extraction tunes like Vee or Glisten. It was up in the air if Vee was actually a good idea, mostly because her scan was super helpful, especially in blackouts. Her active was the only thing that actually kept her potentially meta, as knowing a threat before encountering it was incredibly helpful. But then, this one update, the update that added Yatada, completely changed this. Yata's stats are strikingly similar to Vee's, 5-star extraction and 3-star skill check, making her the tiniest bit slower in extraction. The most important difference here is that her movement speed is 4-star, making her mobility way better than Vee's, allowing her to escape dangerous situations way easier. Her 2-star stealth is still a problem, however it's balanced by her movement. However, her stamina is still 1-star, but this is not really a problem as long as you manage your stamina correctly and try your best to stay out of the way, which you should be able to do with 4-star movement. So with all this information, we can conclude that Yatada has better mobility and similar extraction to Vee, meaning she is a superior extractor to Vee and more viable, but this is the only thing making Vee Fell Off. Yata's trinket, Party Popper, allows the user to see nearby twisteds upon getting on a machine with no cooldown, meaning this is a personal mini Vee scan in a trinket slot. So really all you need is some patience and one person with Party Popper to figure out the twisteds on a given floor. And the person with Party Popper can be literally anyone. This update single-handedly killed Vee. All the things that actually made her viable were taken by the single tune's release. Now, I can't just talk all this smack on Vee and not do a test of my own to prove if she's actually viable or not. So here's a montage of me playing Vee versus Yatada in 2 separate duos with my friend Tommy to prove that higher movement speed is almost required to deal with challenging floors. Now, keep in mind that this one test is not indicative of, her as a character. It could just be me. There was no control experiment, but this is just my experience, and as someone who I would consider an experienced player, I think this could very well display why Vee is not better than Yatada. Anyway, enjoy.